Man, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of EOS. It's 10 out of J, man. I'm rocking with y'all rocking with me. And for this video, we're going to be speaking on Jacksonville, Florida rapper Queso, how he's just been hit with a second murder, and how the snitch in his first murder case might be the same one snitching on the second. Now, I did a video previously on Queso, the rapper with close ties to Young and Ace, who made headlines after he was booked with his dad for the murder of a man in a parking lot who had just left a job interview. 23-year-old Charles McCormick, known as Lil Buck, was ambushed broad day in a shopping plaza when he was shot down, stood over, and shot repeatedly with a rifle in front of a sheriff who was parked in the plaza. A violent getaway led to a crash, one man running with a rifle in one direction as two men held a woman hostage in her own home, changed into her husband's clothes, and made calls to be picked up. Hakeem Robinson, known as Queso, was arrested and charged with the murder, while his dad, Abdul Robinson, was charged with accessory after the fact after allegedly picking up two men from the house where the woman was held hostage. Now, if you want the full details behind this case, I suggest you go watch the previous video. But as if this murder wasn't enough, on March 10th, 2021, an arrest warrant was signed charging Queso with the 2019 shooting death of 16-year-old Adrian Gaynor Jr., known as Bibby Osama.
Family members have identified the 16-year-old boy who was shot and killed inside the parking lot of Hilltop apartment complex as Adrian Gaynor Jr. They say he was employed at a local McDonald's, attended school regularly, and was beginning to get on the right track. The person or people responsible for his death has not been captured.
It sounded like it was Iraq out here, like multiple guns, like from different guns.
Sounded just like probably an AK-47 or something that would, shoot repeatedly without stopping.
On February 25th, 2019, Jacksonville police responded to the Hilltop Village Apartments on West 45th Street to conduct a murder investigation. Upon arrival, a deceased 16-year-old identified as Adrian Gaynor Jr. had been shot multiple times and was pronounced dead at the scene. Evidence technicians recovered a total of 45 shell casings, consistent with being fired from a rifle, spanning from the gazebo area where the shooting started, all the way through the apartment complex to where the body was located. The investigation revealed Bibby was sitting at the gazebo with another man, and they were both looking down at Bibby's phone when the gunfire started. The surviving man stated him and Bibby began running in different directions, and he described the gunfire sounding like it was coming from a Draco or an AR pistol, which both fire rifle rounds. During the investigation, officers became aware of a witness who was present for the murder. The witness stated he was contacted by Queso, who picked him up in a gray or green Nissan Altima with a man named Leroy Whitaker, and they were going to check out drug houses on 45th Street. When the witness got in the car, he saw Queso and Leroy both had gloves on, Queso then telling him the car was stolen, so he put a pair of gloves on before traveling to another area and picking up a man named Rollo. They then drove to the area of 45th Street, where they saw Bibby and Michael Pratt, known as Pop-Out, on a side street near the Hilltop Apartments. They continued driving when Queso asked Rollo to drive to the apartments. Making their way in, they drove from one side of the complex to the other, then parked and waited for the next 20 minutes. They started driving again when Leroy spotted Bibby and Pop-Out under the gazebo. Leroy got out of the car with a long AR-style rifle, while Queso got out with an AR pistol as Rollo drove with the witness to the parking lot closest to the gazebo. The witness saw Leroy chasing and shooting at Pop-Out, while Queso chased down Bibby, who fell to the ground covering his head with his hands. The witness stated Bibby fell only 5 to 10 yards away from their car when Queso ran down and shot him in the back of his head or his neck from close range as Bibby tried to shield himself. The witness was also able to describe Bibby as wearing a dark colored hoodie or jacket and tan pants, the same clothing he'd be seen wearing on the apartment surveillance video. After the murder, Ksoo would go on to brag about it in several photos, videos, and songs. Now it's no secret Chicago influenced Jacksonville's drill scene, but Bibby would literally become Jacksonville's Tuka, not only for being so young when he was killed, but for being one of the most distant songs, and it even went past songs. Ksoo posted a picture of his album cover that quickly made the news as it showed him smoking 6 dead ops, one of which was Bibby.
This album cover, a local rapper named Queso posted on Instagram Monday, is frustrating for parents like Bonetta McFadden. Her son Zion Brown is on the cover. She says he and some of the other men in the picture were murdered.
It hurts my heart, like, to see my son on there as a joke.
Caption on the post says, y'all DM ATKYBZ and tell him to drop dead and I'ma drop it tonight. McFadden says in retaliation to her son's murder 2 years ago, her daughter was shot 14 times in May. She believes her daughter was targeted.
Queso was granted a $1 million bond in his first murder case for Lil Buck, meaning he'd only have to pay $100,000 to get out. But it's now been raised to $3 million with his additional murder. And what everyone, including myself, is wondering is who is the witness that told? It's obvious it's one of Ksoo's people, and I think it's even more obvious if we compare it to his previous murder case. When Buck was killed, the getaway vehicle seen and chased by the officer was a gray Nissan Altima. When Bibby was killed, it was apparently a green or gray Nissan Maxima. Not only that, but Leroy Whitaker, who according to the witness got out of the car with Ksoo and allegedly shot at Bibby and Pop Out, was also arrested for the murder of Buck and was one of 2 men who committed the home invasion that led to the woman being held hostage. The second man was Dominique Bonner. Now Dominique was already in jail on other charges, but the woman was able to remember specific tattoos, giving police enough information to put together a photo lineup, and she identified him as being one of the men who came in her home. A confidential informant inside of the Duval County Jail was able to record Dominique speaking on the details surrounding the murder of Lil Buck, how he was able to find his address through the court site, how him and others drove to his house, then following him to a shopping center. He even spoke on the getaway and a rifle left behind in the car that police later recovered, along with a handgun that had Ksoo's fingerprints and a t-shirt with Ksoo's hair. During the police interview with Dominique, he told it all. He said he was driving the gray Nissan with Leroy Whitaker and Ksoo in the car with him. He told police how they tracked Buck and killed him, and even said the reason was because Buck had dissed Ksoo's brother who had been killed. He described breaking into the woman's home, and it was Leroy who called Ksoo's dad to come and pick them up. But this isn't the only murder Dominique's been charged with. He faces a second count of second-degree murder for the shooting death of a bicyclist who was an innocent bystander as a gun battle erupted between 2 vehicles. So Dominique admitted to the Lil Buck hit. He's obviously trying to save his own ass, and this would be the second hit him, Ksoo, and Leroy have done together if it turns out he's the witness in the Bibby murder case, which also means one of Ksoo's own people is behind his downfall if he's found guilty. Now, as wild as this case is, it makes sense. If what everything that we know so far is true, Dominique Bonner already told in the other case. He's already a certified rat. He's got a big fucking mouth, and for whatever reason, he's talking to a confidential informant. The police most likely, presented it that way. Like, look, we already have someone that recorded you saying this and that. What are you gonna tell us? And they probably hit him with the, let me help you, this will be the best thing you can do for your case. And this dude opens up and says everything. He was the one that orchestrated the hit on Lil Buck. And that's what's so dangerous about the state of Florida. Court records are public. If somebody catches a traffic ticket, you can go on their county website and find out the fucking address that's posted in the courts. And now you know where the fuck they live. You wait till they come outside, you follow them to a job interview, and you shoot the shit out of them as their fucking resume falls on the ground. I mean, that's literally what they're saying happened to this dude, Lil Buck, right? But that's what happens when you diss dead people in one of the deadliest fucking cities in Florida. Now, this would also make sense if he was involved in the Bibby murder, because he's sliding with the same two people, which is Leroy and Queso, allegedly, right? Same group of fucking people, a gray Nissan in both cases, whether it's an Altima or a Maxima. It just, I don't know. I don't know who else could have been present, who else would have a reason to snitch. But it's looking like this dude, Dominique Bonner, is giving out as much information as he can. And I mean, he's putting information on everybody. He's going against Queso, Queso's dad, Leroy, and probably whoever else he can fucking tell on, because he's trying to save himself. And facing 2 second-degree murder charges, I'm not sure how much snitching you can really do, because this isn't a mafia takedown. They're not gonna spare you that much. Like, I guarantee you still go to prison. And Jacksonville, they don't fuck off in prison. Almost everyone from Jacksonville, they fall under cutthroat when they hit the prisons. And you know, they're putting in work up there. The majority of people I met in prison from Jacksonville had 10 years or better. And they're known for killing, whether it's behind the wall or whether it's on the streets. So you can pretty much consider Dominique Bonner dead if he ever becomes accessible, which I'm sure is bound to happen no matter how much cooperation he does. He's not gonna get that Tekashi protection. But as far as the murder case against Ksoo involving Bibby, it seems the only evidence against him is a snitch. And how credible that snitch is, I don't really know. If Ksoo got lawyer money, that's going to be the main thing they're going to fight. How credible is this guy? Is he only snitching for his own protection? This, that, and the third. But in the first murder case, you know, they got his DNA. They got a little bit more evidence. They got a motive behind it. It was his brother that was dissed. This, that, and the third. They got the father that was called, and the father allegedly picked up the 2 dudes that was in the house, which means that Ksoo would have been the other one that ran away with the gun. Shit's messy as fuck. But at the same time, all those videos, pictures, and songs with Ksoo dissing Bibby and everybody else involved in the bullshit, none of that is gonna be a good look in court, and we'll just have to see how it plays out. It's 1090 J. I'm rocking with y'all rocking with me. Till next time.